What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk about what I bring with me when I go off-roading and also share with you guys a couple of tips so that way you guys don't get stuck when you do go off-roading. So every off-roading trip is going to vary. It kind of depends on who you're going with, how experienced the people are. If you're coming with me, most likely, I'm not that experienced, so you're probably going to want to bring more gear than you need. But me, personally, I bring a lot of gear just because, there may be other people that may need help. There may be other people that know how to use my gear better than me, and I want to make sure that I have the necessary gear in case something bad does happen. Now, the first obvious thing to do is to make sure that you let someone know where you're at. So if you're going to someplace remote that most likely will not have cell coverage, you want to let somebody know in the event that you don't return back. Somebody knows that you're missing, right? And so if you let them know, like, you're in the mountains somewhere, some people will probably know like what trail you're on or whereabouts you are, and they'll probably come out and help you if you get stuck. It's also always a good idea to bring someone with you or go with other people. So if you can bring another vehicle, that serves as a potential anchor for winching or something like that. And so having that second vehicle is pretty helpful. They can actually even pull you out if you're stuck. So going with someone else or more experienced people that know the area better is always going to be advised. So if this is a new trail to you, make sure you go with somebody. Now, I always bring communication with me, so I have a ham radio, and I'm not actually licensed to use this, but I only use it for emergency purposes. And I also have a CV radio, and so I already have all the channels pre-tuned to what I need it to be in case I have an emergency. I had an emergency last time. Now, this doesn't get that much reception out there, but you can get an antenna to make it a little bit longer. But what's helpful is when you have these devices, the people that are coming to save you can communicate with you when they get close by. So you can tune into a local frequency that your local group is using, or try to figure out what people are using and what channel they're on. That way you can kind of save that. Now, if you're like me, you probably don't have any ideas on what those channels are, so I actually went online and looked up a couple things, and I bring this little envelope with me with my ham radio. And the reason for that is it gives me all of the common stations and frequencies, and you can tune into one of these things. And so I'll put a screenshot for you guys so you can see. And also it has like emergency dispatch, it has like the weather, it has like 911, so you can kind of figure out what channels to use. And even like the CV radios, I always forget what channel is for like off-roading. But you can see like channel 13 is all marine RV, channel 14 is just open to all walkie-talkies, and then there is one specific to 4x4, it's channel 4, and so I'll probably leave it on channel 4 if I get stuck, and maybe I can find someone else on the trail that I can get in contact with. So that's always a good option to have. Alright guys, one more thing that I like to carry with me is this GPS unit. It's kind of one of those old school ones that just use a regular GPS. And I like it because it works off the grid and doesn't need, you don't need any cell phone reception. And the maps are pretty decent. The roads don't really change that much when you go off-roading. Now, if that doesn't work for you and you don't have one of those old units, you can always use Google Maps. And what I like to do is I like to go and download offline maps and just select a really large region, for example, like I already have one here, and just download the whole thing, so that way your Google Maps will still work when you're off the cell reception. That's kind of handy. One thing that's pretty common is when you go off grid, your maps stop working and then you get lost. So having a couple of forms of like GPS and offline maps is pretty helpful. Alright, I like to keep this in my vehicle as well. This is kind of an emergency Jumpstart Kit, and in the event the battery dies or something when it's too cold, or maybe the alternator fails, I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna have more problems if that thing's failed, but this will kind of let me jumpstart things. It also serves as a charger, so if I need to charge my phone for whatever reason on the go, I can take this with me, and that's kind of useful. Now, in the event that you do get stuck out there and you can't communicate with anyone, it could happen, you are in the middle of nowhere, most likely. It's always a good idea to have like a first aid kit just in case something really bad happens. And also have some food, some water, and maybe some form of shelter in case you need to spend the night, because there might be a chance that you may be stuck there overnight, and you might have to wait until the morning to kind of walk your way back to the road. So I usually carry You know, I'm an Asian American, so I carry like top ramen with me all the time. I have a grill as well, and I have a water boiler, and also I can sleep in my 4Runner, so I have that kind of option. So I can probably survive even if I get stuck out there for a couple days. All right, guys, probably one of the most important tools to have out there is to make sure that you have decent tires. So these are 265 70 17 Falcon AT3W. They're kind of rated for all-terrain. They have that snowflake icon, which doesn't really mean much, but they seem to work pretty good in the snow. You know, you want to make sure that you have tires that actually have tread on it, so that way you can actually move through the terrain. And you know, another thing that you're going to need to do when you get out there is make sure you air down. You'll need to make sure you have a tool to air down and also a tool to air back up. But you'll see here I use a tool like this. It's just a little gauge. It has a light on it and it kind of lets you know how much PSI you have. But you basically just twist this in. There's a little plunger. When you pull it out, it pulls the valve core out and then it deflates your tires really quickly. So doing that will give you a tremendous amount of traction out there, so make sure you guys do that when you guys go out. Now if you're gonna air down your tires, you need to make sure that you can air it back up, because there's no way you can drive on the highway with 10 psi. I mean, you could, but it probably won't end well. So I just bring this little portable compressor with me. It's a Viair 90p portable compressor. Seems to run okay. I haven't had any problems with it yet. And it just hooks up to the battery with the two little alligator clips, and the cord is long enough to actually reach all of my tires. You actually can use this to air down the tires as well, but if you have the other tool, there's really no need. This one's going to be much faster. Now, one thing you need to be concerned about when you air down your tires that low, especially if you don't have bead lock rims, is that you may blow a bead, and if you blow a bead and you don't have a spare tire, you're going to have problems. But if you have a spare tire, you might be okay, but most people don't. And even if they did, it's probably not the same tire. It's probably like, the street tire that came with your truck. I carry this around. I don't really know how to use it, and hopefully I never have to use it, or hopefully I'm around somebody that knows how to use it. But apparently you can spray that around the rim of the tire, and then light it, and it'll actually pop the bead back in. Alright, one other thing that I carry with my tire gear is this tire puncture kit, and this is if you need to patch a tire. Now I carry a spare, so I don't always bring this, but it might be a good idea to have this. And then also additional valve cores and seals and stuff, just in case. You never know what happens out there. Alright guys, the next thing I carry with me are these knockoff Mex Tracks, or these are the X-Bull version. And these are great for when you're in the sand or snow or something and you need to jam this thing under there if you're lopsided or something. This will kind of give you that traction you need. You can see some of the lugs are gone on some of these already, but a lot of them are still around. So this is another good option if you want to get out of a sticky situation really fast without having to hook up a bunch of tow straps. This is nice and quick. You can just jam it under there and hopefully you can get out. And if you can get out, great. You can just put it back in the bag and move on your way. All right, guys. Next item is my front bumper winch here. You can see here I've got a stainless steel 9500 Smitty built. Well, you can't really see it, but it's just a standard, $250 winch or something like that. Yeah, nothing special, but this thing has gotten me out of a lot of trouble in the past. Alright guys, so we talked a little bit about the winch, but I wanted to talk about a couple accessories that I've added to the winch. So this here is a wireless remote control for the winch. So I wired this to the existing wires that are in the control box. And this is just a universal kit. It was pretty easy to wire. So this has worked really nice because I can use this from far away. I can use this from inside the car, so it's a little bit safer. It's never failed me. It's got a, you got to push to hold to turn it on. So you can never kind of accidentally go in and out. So it's kind of nice. If this for whatever reason has no battery or the battery dies, I still have the option of using the manual control or the wired remote. So that's always an option. Another thing I have is a Snatch Block, and the Snatch Block is nice if you're trying to recover somebody and let's say they were in front of you and you couldn't get in front of them to kind of winch them forward. You can use a Snatch Block and you can kind of put it in front of the vehicle and then run your cable around it and then to the other vehicle that's stuck, and now you can kind of pull them. So it kind of changes the angle or the direction that you can pull from. There's a lot of pretty good use cases for Snatch Blocks. Usually people suggest running at least, or having at least 2 of these on hand in the event that you need it. You can use this in combination with some of these other tools that I'll talk about in a second, like this strap here. You can strap this to a tree and then strap this guy to the strap. That way now you can move the snatch block a little bit closer. So whenever you're using a winch, especially ones with the steel cable still on there, it's always a good idea to have some kind of dampening system. This is just an ARB damper, and what it does is you open it up and then it goes over the line and it kind of weighs it down. This is pretty decently weighted already. That way, in the event that that cable breaks for whatever reason, let's hope not, the line will just drop straight to the ground with the weight of this. You obviously can use other things. You can use your jacket, you could use your floor mats, whatever you got to weigh that line down in the event that it does fail. All right, let's talk about straps before we talk about the D-shackles. But the straps you can use with the winch as well. Like I mentioned with the Snatch Block, you can use it to extend your line on your winch as well. Let's say you couldn't reach that tree that you're trying to pull from. You can put the strap on the tree, loop it around a couple times, and you can use that now to kind of pull yourself with the strap. But another useful thing about these straps is, people can use it to pull each other out. So that's why I mentioned earlier to go with another vehicle, because some of them will have like D-rings, for example. Like me, I have a D-ring shackle on the rear of my hitch, so I can hook up this this line to this, and then hook the other end to another vehicle and kind of pull them out. It's probably not recommended to use this kind of strap. I'll talk about a different strap later, but you can do that if you're in a pinch. There's also these straps. These are tree savers. These are just really short. All they're used for is really to just protect the tree so you don't kind of destroy it with the steel cable. So you wrap this around the tree and then you make a loop, put your D-ring on there or your hook, and then now you can pull from that tree, because otherwise you're gonna have to wrap the cable around and put the cable on itself, which is probably better to use this tree saver. So I have two of them just in case that I need both for whatever reason. I might actually use one of these for the Snatch Block, for example. But you never know what kind of situation you're in until you're out there. These here are alternatives to the regular D-rings. So these D-rings, these can be dangerous if they ever break, because they're pretty heavy and they can, fly at you and cause catastrophic damage. I tend to use the soft shackles. These are actually rated for more than these are. I think these are only rated for like, 30,000 pounds or something like that. Whereas these are rated for 52,300 pounds. And the reason why I like these is because we had a situation when we went out into the snow the other day where the other vehicle didn't have anywhere to put his recovery rope to snatch him out of the ditch that he was in. So we ended up using this and wrapping it around his frame because it's a little bit more flexible. And then we barely had enough to close it. And you can see here it's very much like a D-ring, except a little bit more flexible. And then we were able to use this to pull them out using the Snatch Block and then hooking the hook up to here, and then I just pulled them out forward. So these are kind of nice, and I have two of these in the event that I need both of them. So this guy here I mentioned a little bit. So these are useful. They're really nice when you have a hitch and you don't have like rear toe points to pull from. If you don't have a custom bumper, so I don't have a custom bumper, but you have a hitch, you can use this, put it in, slide the pin through, and now you have a point where you can pull from in the back. So if you get stuck, someone can pull you from the back. And they just use the same D-rings, so they're all interchangeable. So I have a total of 4 D-rings on my vehicle. I have one spare one here, one on the tow hitch, and then 2 up front on my ARB bumper. Now another thing you can try to use if you have, let's say, you don't have a lot of funds to buy all these accessories, you can take one of these hitch pins, and these already slide into the hitch receiver, and what you can do is use that instead. So let me show you what I mean. So normally if you have a hitch receiver D-shackle like this, then that's easy. You just open the pin, put your strap in, and you're ready to go and pull somebody out. So if you don't have something like this, you normally will just have an open hitch receiver like this. So what you can do is you can still use this pin. So these pins are pretty cheap. You can find them at any like Tractor Supply Hardware, or just ask a friend. I'm sure they have one. But you can see here, if you put it inside, you can't really see in there, but you can put something in there now and you can pull from there. So let me show you. This might actually fit in here. Oh, perfect. You can see there, and now you can pull. Now, your strap might get marred up from all these sharp edges. You know, they're not really that sharp, but they're sharp enough. And when somebody pulls you, it's going to try to go sideways. That's why it's kind of nice to have, you know, these. But if you don't and you're in a pinch, you can definitely do this. Make sure you put this pin back in too. So, and now you should be ready to go. This thing should not go anywhere. And it should be just as strong as what you had there. Alright guys, I got another tip for you here. So I carry this little, I don't know, Costco magazine with me. Probably need another one, but one's probably plenty. And the reason why I do that is because, let's say you had two straps. These are true straps, but let's pretend they were the longer ones. And you couldn't quite reach your tree, or, you know, whatever you're trying to reach. Or maybe the person trying to recover you needs to be like, you know, so far away so they don't get stuck themselves. And you want to extend, or, you know, kind of daisy chain these straps together. So one thing you can do is you can, you know, obviously use a D-shackle, which again, remember we're trying to reduce the amount of D-shackles we're using. So you can do something like this and, you know, probably get away with it. But we're trying to get away from that. And I learned this trick from, I think it's Ronnie Dahl Offroad. Kind of demonstrates all the off-road tools. I suggest you guys go watch him if you guys are going to go off-roading, because, you know, he can teach you quite a bit of techniques to get out of things. But what you can do is you can put this through here, and then put this in through here, like that. You kind of just make like a small loop. Now, the problem with this is once you get it all the way through, and this is why I'm using the tree strap because it's shorter. The moment you put the amount of tension you're going to need to pull you out, this thing is going to bind up and you'll never be able to take it out. So what they suggest you do is stick a magazine or a piece of paper, put it in here. That way when it gets tight, the piece of paper, it holds it. Well, it's still going to hold because it's not going anywhere, but this piece of paper will be in here and it'll be stuck in there. You know, this is going to be super tight when they try to pull you out, right? But the only way to get this free now is to remove the paper, and that way it still has a little bit of slack in here now, and then you can take the thing out. Otherwise, this thing will be so tight that you won't be able to take it out. So I carry this around with me just in the event that I need to do that. Alright guys, one more tool I have right here. This is a different kind of strap, and what this strap is it's a kinetic strap, and what it does is, you know, the other strap that I showed you doesn't really stretch. This one actually, when someone pulls you, it will stretch, and then it will kind of like absorb all the energy in between, and then kind of like spring that car out of the ditch. It's supposed to be better for your drivetrain and all that stuff, and so we typically use these now whenever we need to pull someone out that's kind of really stuck. If you try the other strap, most likely you're just going to dig a hole. This strap will allow you to kind of get momentum and move, and then let's say like you're stuck over here, your car's saving you, he's right here. You know, he can roll back to here, for example, you know, 6 feet or so, maybe 10 feet, and then kind of gun it all the way here. And before, it would kind of shock your whole entire car, because, you know, that strap that doesn't stretch will kind of just like, you know, basically like get hit by something, right? With this, it'll actually stretch it, and then all of that you know, potential energy will kind of transfer over here and kind of spring this guy out. So it puts a little bit less load on your vehicle. So we typically use this to kind of not destroy anybody's vehicles when doing recoveries. And these are kind of nice because, you know, they can just go in the D-ring, or they can go in the soft shackle. This one's about 20 feet long. You know, these things are like about $100, and I think it's well worth it, especially if you're doing a lot of recoveries. You don't want to, you know, destroy your vehicle in the process of trying to save someone else. So we typically use these kinetic ropes for that reason. So I carry this with me in the event that I need to pull somebody out, or somebody needs to pull me out. We can just use this rope. This one's rated for about 19,000 pounds, which is kind of light duty, but I don't plan on pulling any Fords or Chevys out, hopefully, with this. This is my own vehicle, or, you know, smaller Jeeps. Okay. So I like to keep my gear organized, so most of those straps that you saw earlier are all shoved in here. I normally don't take this bag unless I'm going on a recovery or going off-road. I leave this one at home. I do carry, you know, a couple things in the vehicle, like, you know, one set of tree straps. I already have D-rings on the vehicle. And my winch is always connected, so I already have a sufficient amount of recovery gear, even if I'm not going off-roading. I'm not gonna get stuck at the mall, so I try not to carry too much stuff. But when I do go off-roading or go on a recovery, yeah, this is where all the stuff is. So I always bring a set of gloves. This is for the winch, to make sure I don't cut up my hands. And then if I'm on like a dangerous road, I'll probably wear some kind of bright colored vest so people can see me so I don't get killed. But yeah, I just put everything in this bag and zip it up, throw it in the back. All right guys, moving on into the vehicle. So I wanted to show you guys what else I have in here. I do have a shovel right here as well, so that's pretty important if you're trying to dig yourself out. Make sure you always bring a shovel. If you don't have a shovel, you're gonna be in trouble. Let's just put it that way. This is kind of where I put some of the gear that I have. Let me move some things out of the way here. So you can see I have my soft shackles in there, the remote, and then this tree saver is normally in here. So this is pretty much the amount of gear I normally carry. And then down here is just a bunch of tie downs and straps and stuff. These aren't really for recovery, but I have used them for recovery before, but not anymore now that I have more gear. And then you can see here some of my food, just a cup of noodles, and got a little water boiler thing in here. So I normally don't carry this stuff around unless I'm going off-roading, and I'll throw it in here. Inside of this drawer is the cooker. Let me show you. All right, so ignore this. So here's that cooker I was talking about. Here's a propane bottle it comes with, and then a lighter in case, actually I do need it for this. And then like I mentioned, I can sleep in my vehicle if I need to. I do have a platform, so I usually take that. I haven't given you guys a walkthrough on this new setup I got yet, but maybe I'll do that in the future. And then on this side is where I put the air compressor and the deflator, so nothing special. And then back there is the first aid kit. So yeah, that's about everything I have in here. And of course I couldn't forget my 48-inch high lift. So you guys already saw this in another video of mine, but I do carry this as well. I try not to use it because it's dangerous. But this is actually more useful for like pulling myself backwards in the event I can't go backwards for whatever reason. I can hook it up to those straps that I mentioned earlier, and this will actually winch me backwards. Also useful for other things as well, like lifting your vehicle to change your tire. Alright guys, so that high lift was a 48-inch high lift, and I also bought this high lift off-road gear kit. Comes with a couple of accessories. So like I mentioned, these are kind of the things you need to kind of winch yourself backwards and do various things, like winch yourself forward even. Comes with its own D-ring as well, and then a pair of gloves. So I keep all this stuff with me if I go off-roading as well. I put it in my cargo, my roof cargo up there, so that way I have it, and all of my high lift stuff is on top. I try not to ever use my high lift when I don't need to, and I've never had to. Like I said, usually if you're going with somebody, you're not going to need to use this, but if you're solo and you need to do something, then this is helpful. I also have the base for the high lift. This is an event that the floor is uneven or it's soft. You can put this like in the sand or in the dunes, and it'll kind of be the footing for it. Alright guys, now that we're done with all the recovery gear, I wanted to talk about some of the recovery points that I have. On the side here I have my rock sliders, so you can easily attach it to the rock slider pretty much anywhere, with the soft shackle, or you can probably loop a strap around it and you can pull sideways. One thing to be careful about when pulling sideways is you might pop a bead, so I would refrain from using this side if you can for recovery. You could use it to lift the vehicle with the high lift. I've never had the need to, but I have that option here. In the back, I already showed you guys this, but remember that rear hitch. If you don't have a rear hitch, then you're kind of out of luck. One thing you could probably do is use this spot down here, and I'll show you. I don't recommend it, but you can. You see there, that is the toe, tie down point, and people say don't use that, but you know what, if you're stuck and you're stranded, you might have to. The metal is kind of thick. I wouldn't do any extreme pulls, but if you're kind of stuck in a ditch and you just need a little shove out,
probably can use that. I'd probably hook up both of them. So there's one on the other side as well, somewhere over there. I don't know where, but I would probably hook up both sides. That way you can kind of meet in the middle and then pull from there. That way you have 2 points rather than one. All right, we're up front here, and earlier I showed you guys the ARB bumper. It's got 2 D-rings attached to it. Now you can use that if you want. I don't know, it looks kind of thin up there. Personally, I'd rather use this tow hook. It's a lot bigger and beefier, and I actually went and got 2 of them. Or sorry, it came with one and I went and got another one. And you can see the bumper is mounted to the frame right there where that hook is, so it's a pretty beefy spot. So you can easily just put a strap around that and just pull it from there. Or you can use 2 straps, like I mentioned, in the back and do the same thing if you have 2 hooks. Now, most vehicles only have 1 hook, and you can kind of see it. It's over there. It's right there. That's the factory hook that comes with the 4Runner, and then this one's the one I added, and it doesn't really fit right. You can kind of see it's kind of curved the wrong way, or maybe you can't, but it seems to work. So you can use either of those to get yourself pulled out. I've never had to use that. I've never been stuck where I had to be pulled out from the front. Alright guys, I wanted to close out this video just by letting you guys know that, you know, all of these tools don't mean anything if you don't know how to use them. So, for example, that starter fluid that I have, I don't really know how to use it. I have to go figure out how to do that before I need to use it. Some of the other tools, most of the other tools I know how to use, so I should be okay. But if you guys are buying all of these you know, tools and bringing them with you, make sure you take the time to kind of learn how to use them. And don't forget the most important tool, and that's your brain. You know, if something looks odd or fishy or sketchy, just stop. You know, reevaluate, take the time to do it right. And you know, if you're by yourself, you probably shouldn't be in that situation to begin with. So I always advise that you guys take someone with you that knows how to use their gear properly. Alright guys, that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. If you guys like this kind of content, subscribe to my channel. Make sure you ring that notification bell so you get notified when I upload a new video. And if you guys have any questions about anything, just leave a comment below and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Have a nice day.